everyone, welcome to a new episode of Coding Bytes. My name is Morgan, an educator here at Coding Lab. Have you heard of infinite jumper games? These are games where players try to survive for as long as possible as they control a character who jumps on platforms. These platforms appear at random positions on the screen, which makes the game challenging but fun. Now, these games typically have different types of platforms too. Today, we are going to learn how to create such a game on Scratch. Now, let me give you a demo of how the infinite jumper game works. Let's click on the green flag to begin. While we are counting down, look at the platforms. There are two types, as indicated by their different colors. They appear at random positions at the top of the screen. Now, this green square is our player character. We can control his horizontal movement by moving our mouse left and right. His vertical movement is automatic. He jumps when he hits a platform and falls automatically. Okay, so how the game ends is if he touches the bottom of the screen. Let's give it a go. Okay, there, the game over screen. Now that we understand how the game works, why don't we get to coding? Make sure that you're logged into your Scratch account and go to the description box below and click on the link to the template. Remember to click on the green remix button and let's get coding. Okay, so we have all of our sprites and we're going to code the game together. Why don't we start with the platforms first? The game starts when we click on the green flag, so let's grab that from the event section. Remember that we want the platform generation to happen forever, so let's add that forever block from the control tab. And we also want to add a go-to block from motion. But what should these values be? Remember that the platforms kept appearing at different positions at the top of the screen. In terms of coordinates, this means that the platform's y coordinate is always the same, while the x coordinate is random. For now, let's set y to 160, which is close to the top of the screen without touching the edge. For x, we're going to need a pick random block, which is under operators. But what should the minimum and the maximum be? Well, the x-coordinates can take values from negative 240 to positive 240. Remember that we don't want the platform to be hidden like this. So set it to negative 200 and positive 200. Right now, we only have one sprite. How do we generate infinitely many platforms? For this, we are going to use clones. Go to Control and scroll down. We want the clones to be generated infinitely, so let's add create clone of myself into the forever block. We also want to add a wait block, which is at the top of the control section. If not, there will be too many platforms that are generated. Let's set this to 0.5 so that clones will be generated every 0.5 seconds. Now we can code the vertical movement of the platforms. Remember, we can't just use the original sprite. We need this block under control when I start as a clone. Now, these clones are going to move downward until they reach the bottom of the screen. For this, let's drag out the repeat until block. And what are we repeating? Downward movement. Let's go to motion and drag out the change y by 10 block. To make it move downwards, we have to change y by a negative value. Let's put negative 5 for now. We need to add a condition here. Go to the operators section and take out this block, blank smaller than 50. We need to know the y coordinate of the platform to determine if it's at the bottom of the screen. Let's go to the motion section. If you scroll down, you should see this block, y position. Put it in here. Now, we need to check if the y coordinate is lower than a certain value which tells us it's at the bottom of the screen. Put in negative 160. Last of all, we are going to need delete this clone, which can be found in control at the bottom. Let's give this code a go. Nice, the platform generation works. However, notice that there's a platform always at the top of the screen. That's the original platform. We need to make sure that it's hidden. Go to looks and take out the hide block. We're going to hide it when the green flag is clicked. However, we need to show the clones, so put the show block under when I start as a clone. Now try the game again. There, the platform generation now works perfectly. You might have noticed that we have two different platform costumes. That's because we're going to add a different type of platform which will move left and right. To do this, we'll first need to change costumes. You can find this in looks. Check out the switch costume to block. Put it in forever. We also need to use the pick random block again, so let's take that out. Drop this in the drop-down menu here. We have two costumes, so let's change the maximum value to 2. This means that every time the clone is generated, it will randomly have the first or second costume. Now, let's code the behavior of moving platforms. Let's use another when I start as a clone block. Okay, We don't want our normal platforms to do this behavior, so we first need to check if the costume is the moving costume. Take out an if-then block, and for the condition, we're going to need the operator block, equals to 50. We're going to check if the costume is the moving one, which is the second costume. Go to looks, scroll down. Okay. See this block, costume number. Now, it's possible to use the costume name or the costume number. But to make things more intuitive, let's use the costume's name instead. Put it in here and change the name to moving. So if costume name equals to moving, then do this. For these moving blocks, we are going to make them move and then bounce off the edge forever. So drag that forever block out. Under control. Now, let's go to motion and put in a move 10 steps. And if on edge, bounce. Okay, let's give it a go. All right, now we have two different types of platforms. Now, let's make our character jump. You might already know how to use the change Y blocks, but we need something different to ensure that our character continues falling if it's not touching a platform. To do this, we're going to need to make new variables. Go to the Variables tab and click on Make a Variable. Our first one is going to be gravity. And then let's make another one called Y velocity. Gravity is always going to be negative, ensuring that our character falls faster and faster. Make sure you uncheck the variables so that your player can't see them. Now, the character appears after the countdown, so we are using a broadcast block under events. Let's take out when I receive begin. If it's not begin, change it to begin. Okay, next, gravity is negative because our sprite falls, just like in real life. Let's set it to -1. We can find this under variable set gravity to -1. To begin with, let's set Y velocity to 0. Okay, now to fall, we are going to use a forever block under control. And we are going to change Y by Y velocity. It's under variables. And we're going to change Y velocity by gravity. So what this means is that Y velocity will become more and more negative. So the falling speed gets faster and faster the longer it falls. But wait, we don't want to fall through platforms, we want to jump when we land on a platform. So let's take this block out for now. Now, go to Control and add a if then else block. We're going to check for two things, so go to Operators and take out AND. The first thing we're going to check for is if it's touching a platform. So let's go to Sensing, take out Touching Mouse Pointer, and let's change it to Platforms. The second thing we are going to check is if the sprite is falling. So because we only want to jump when it's landing on a platform and not if it's hitting it with its head. Under Operators, take out smaller than 50. So what we're going to check is Y velocity. So go to Variables and drag out Y velocity. If Y velocity is negative, then the sprite is falling. So we're going to check if it's negative. Change it to 0. And if it is landing on a platform, we're going to set Y velocity to a positive value, which will make it jump. Else, we're going to change Y velocity by gravity. If you are finished with this code, you can give it a go. Okay, there, our little guy is jumping now. And he falls. Okay. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed this video, do give us a like by clicking the thumbs up button below, and remember to subscribe to keep updated on the latest videos. Thank you for watching this episode of Coding Bytes, and see you again soon!